Work with layers. Work with layers. Layers contain the images and fonts and objects that make up a layered file, and layers enable you to move, edit and work with content on one layer without affecting the content within your other layers, by the way. And you can use layers to perform tasks such as compositing multiple images and adding text to an image and applying filters and adjustments. And layers are arranged in a stack and can be viewed by tapping either the compact or detailed layer view from the taskbar in the workspace, like this screenshot. And what about layer views? Layer views, you can choose to view the layers in your document and other layer information from the taskbar, and the available layer view options are compact, detailed or hidden layer view. And compact layer view, what about the compact layer view? Look at this screenshot now. Compact layer view, tap this icon now. This icon is meaning from the taskbar to view layer thumbnails only. Swipe left on the thumbnail to see applied mask if one has been applied to the layer. And what about detailed layer view? Detailed layer view, tap this icon now. This icon now, the second icon, tap this second icon now from the right side. Tap the second icon from the right side. This icon is meaning from the taskbar to view layer names. And what about the visibility and the thumbnails of the layer and applied mask if one has been applied to the layer, by the way. And hidden layer view, what about the hidden layer view? Hidden layer view is meaning deselect and the compact layer view and detail layer view to hide both layer views from the canvas. And layer properties, this icon, the third icon from the right side is meaning here tap from the taskbar to access layer properties. And thumbnail is meaning displays the layer thumbnail and name. And the blending options, what about the blending options? You can create various special effects using blending options and opacity and blend mode and opacity. Use the opacity slider to adjust the overall opacity level of a layer. And opacity determines to what degree the selected layer is obscured or revealed. And a layer with 1% opacity appears nearly transparent, and whereas one with 100% opacity appears opaque. And to learn more about that, work in Photoshop, see layer opacity and blending. And what about the blend mode? Blend mode is meaning a layer's blending mode determines how its pixels blend with underlying pixels in the image, and you can choose from a list of special effects using blending mode available in the drop down list. And add clipped adjustment. How to add clipped adjustment? Adds a clipped adjustment layer to the current layer. And brightness or contrast, and black and white, color balance, exposure, hue, saturation, and levels and vibrance. And what about the effects? Effects is meaning this feature is not supported on the iPad yet. No any effect supported on the iPad yet now. And the smart filters, this feature is not supported on the iPad yet, actually, like the effects. And dimensions displays the dimensions of the current layer bonds. And how to add and name a layer. If you like to add and name a layer, how to add and name a layer? Tap this icon now from the taskbar to add a new layer. The new layer, by the way, is inserted above the currently selected layer. to name or rename a layer, open the detailed layer and press this icon, the second icon to view. A double tap the layer name to bring up the rename layer dialog. Type a name for the layer and tap rename to confirm the name. And what about the layer visibility? The layer visibility is meaning you can choose to show or hide the contents of a particular layer with the layer visibility option available in the taskbar, and tap this icon, the layer visibility, from the taskbar or from the detailed layer view to hide the contents of a selected layer. Then tap again to view the contents of that layer. That's great, thank you. And what about the layer mask? Layer mask is meaning that you can to add a mask to a layer to show parts of the layer and hide others by tapping on the layer mask, like this icon. Press this icon now to add a layer mask, and in the areas where the layer is masked hidden, the layers below are visible, by the way, and masking layers is valuable compositing techniques for combining multiple photos into a single image, or for removing a person or object from a photo. And you can edit a layer also. You can edit a layer mask to add a subtract from the masked region, and areas you paint in black on the mask hides those areas of the layer, while areas you paint white on the mask are visible. And for areas you paint on the mask in shades of gray, the layer appears in various levels of transparency. Yes. And tap the mask visibility. Press this icon to tap the mask visibility icon to temporarily make the mask invisible, so that you can see the entire layer without the mask applied. And by default, a layer or group is linked to its layer mask. To break the link between a layer and the mask, tap this icon. This allows you to move the layer image and the mask independent of one another. That's great word. So what about the clipping mask? If you'd like to clipping the mask, what about the clipping mask? A clipping mask allows you to use the content of one layer to mask the layers above it, and the masking is determined by the content of the bottom or base layer, and the non-transparent content of the base layer clips reveals the content of the layers above it in the clipping mask, and all other content in the clipped layer is masked out. And when the layer to be clipped is selected, tap the clipping mask icon, and the layer blue is used to clip the layer, and more layers can be placed on top and clipped to the same shape. And the top layer is the layer to be clipped, and the middle layer determines what is clipped, and the bottom layer is the lower layer that shows through when the top layer is clipped actually. Look at this screenshot now. Add a clipping mask in Photoshop on the iPad. Filters and adjustments. What about the filters and adjustments? Tap this icon now. Tap this icon now. It's meaning from the taskbar to bring up the filters and adjustments panel. Gaussian blur applies the selected amount from 1 to 1000 of Gaussian blur to a layer. And invert. How to invert? Invert is meaning inverts the contents of the layer. If you want to invert any contents of the layer, you should to press for this icon, the second icon from the screenshot now. Filters and adjustment. Choose the second icon to invert the content of the layer. If you want to invert, yes. And layer actions. What about the layer actions? Layer actions is meaning press this icon, tap this 3 point icon from the taskbar to bring up the layer actions panel. Then lock layer. Lock layer is meaning locks the layer so it can't be edited. And delete layer. Delete layer is meaning deletes the active layer. So what about the rename layer? If you want to rename the layer, rename the active layer. And how to add clipped adjustment. To add clip adjustment, add a clipped adjustment layer to the selected layer. And begin multi. Select mode allows you to select multiple layers, by the way. And duplicate layer duplicates the active layer. And copy. Copy layer allows you to copy a selection or layer to be pasted. Then select all. If you want to select all contents of the active layer. Then load a selection. If you want to load a selection, select all the non-transparent areas on a layer. And or if a layer mask exists, all the unmasked areas. Then selecting these areas is useful when you want to select text or image content that is surrounded by or contains transparent areas, or to create a selection that excludes masked areas on a layer. And how to flatten layer. If you want to flatten layer, brings all layers of a multi-layered document to one plane. And if you want to merge down merges the active layer with the layer below it. And merge visible. Merge visible is meaning merges all visible layers into the active layer, like this screenshot now. Layers, we have layers action consist of lock layers and delete layer and rename layer and add clipped adjustment and begin multi-select mode and duplicate layer and copy layer and select all and load a selection and flatten layer and merge down and merge visible. Yes, that's fine. It's great. And you have to choose this 3 point icon button.